two wheels this week. Robert continues his journey from Madras to Manchester. Wayne investigates a survey of over 6,000 bikers, and Jeff rides the new VFR 800.
Before you say anything, I know we're at another track day. Well, we're not actually. It isn't a track day, it's a little bit different. The fact is, we're here at Cadwell Park, which is in Lincolnshire, and it's a Ride magazine special day out, because these guys did a little feature called Rider Power. It's here in this magazine. I really don't know what it's all about, but I do know a man who does. I told you I'd find someone who knows what they're on about. This is Warren Paul from Ride magazine. Now, he's like a writer. He writes on the toilet walls, all sorts of graffiti. Right then, Warren, tell us, yes, of course, tell us what this is all about here.
Well, Rider Power was, it was a survey that we did in the magazine, really because whereas as a journalist, you know about bikes, you get to ride them, you get to use the kit. We don't live with it, we don't pay for it. We don't have to deal with our bike when they go wrong. We don't have to go and fork out money at dealers. So we thought we'd ask our readers what they thought. It was a nationwide survey of biking trends, what people like and what they don't like about the industry. But it was from them, not from us lot sat in our ivory tower.
Got you. Quite a few of them. 6,000, wasn't it, or something?
Well, we used 6,000 in the survey, but that's only because our computer wasn't powerful enough to put on the other 3,000 that wrote in. So there's 9,000 people who wrote to us, which is a massive response.
And a lot of work, a lot of legwork on you and all the rest of the gang had to do an awful lot of research and things.
It was an absolutely enormous project. We didn't go home on time. I think I missed last orders for about a month.
Oh, our heart bleeds for him, doesn't it? Hey, but tell us a bit about it, because there must have been some funny things. People must have wrote in, said some funny things and some funny names.
I mean, it's all very well. People probably think it's really funny when they're writing it out, but when you're picking up the 10th form that day that's from Mickey Mouse or Donald Duck, people writing in about their ratty grifter they had when they were 7. It just, yeah, they were quite amusing.
But there's a serious point to it.
Yeah,
you had different categories, and you had best of this and worst of this and so on. What came out at the top?
At the top, I mean, on the bikes, we had a bit of a surprise, actually. The Triumph T595 came out as the best new bike under 2 years. I think that was just because of the dealer backup they gave, and the fact that people who buy Triumphs are very passionate about them.
Yeah.
Fireblade was up there, second.
I think that was expected, wasn't it?
Really?
Yeah,
Honda did very well from us. We found some good dealers in the country. We found a few bad dealers as well, but probably best not to name them.
No, don't mention it.
And a lot of second-hand stuff. Unsurprisingly, 748, 916. Whether it was new or used, they were the best handling bikes in Britain, as voted by all the people who rode them.
The riders.
The people who ride them.
Okay, so we've got sexy bikes here.
We have.
But there's got to be a worst of things. What about the worst bike?
Well, it wasn't the worst bike, but on pose value, the bike that came bottom of the pose value charts was the good old CX500. It brought a tear to my eye to see it.
I can understand it being not so heavy on the pose, but I mean, practicality held. I mean, couriers out there,
value did very well on the value, but I mean, it was just the fact that pose value and handling of it came bottom.
Well, it never really rated very highly when it was brand new. Never mind when it's knackered, like
is it?
200,000 miles on the clock or whatever.
Before we offend anyone, it's a lovely bike, you know. It's a character piece, I think.
Creep. It's that 916 Ducati again, isn't it? Best bike, best handling, best style, sexiest bike. I suppose the best thing to do is ask a man who happens to know everything about it, because he owns one of these. Mike Gard, you own one. You obviously love this bike. You filled the form in to say so, didn't you?
That's right, yes, I did.
Did you put down everything about it? Did you say it is the sexiest, whatever?
I put down as much as I could say about this bike.
Because you love it?
I love this bike, yes I do.
You don't go to bed with it, do you?
Not yet.
Good, but time yet, eh? Lucky bike. Anyway, so tell me why? What's so sexy about it?
It's just everything about it. It's just the whole package. It's the styling. It's the sound. I mean, the sound of that twin.
I agree with you absolutely. Yeah. Is it because it's Italian as well? Are you into this Italian thing?
Well, everyone knows the Italians have got style. I mean, you know, you look at the clothes, you look at their women. You know, for their bikes.
I don't disagree with you at all, on all counts. No, there's no doubt about it.
And also the colour. I mean,
red's the colour.
What other bike looks like this? I mean, I've had ZX9s, I've had Fireblades.
So you qualified. You've had all the other options.
This is it for me. This is the only bike. because
sold, mate.
it's just so different to anything else I've ridden.
Well, there you go. 916 wins on this fella's counts. The Honda CBR 900R. I mean, introduced in 1992, and flipping heck, everybody loves them, adores them, and thinks they're marvellous. And this fella is no exception. Gary Baldwin, you like this bike so much, you filled the questionnaire in the Ride magazine and put yes, 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 love, 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 whatever. What do you really love about this Fireblade?
There's nothing I don't like about it, is the short answer. It does absolutely everything very, very well, and it's bad at nothing. You can go out, you can thrash it, you can take luggage on it, you can go long distances on it. I mean, what doesn't it do? It does everything.
You know, I really didn't expect you to say anything else. Have you had other Fireblades? Is this your first and only?
No, this is my second one. And really, I only got rid of the other one because the mileage was piling on it. And whilst it'll take the mileage, it was only the resale value I was worried about.
Excellent. The Triumph Daytona T595. Voted the best new bike in the poll. In fact, bike younger than 2 years old. Stuart Mitchell here is the proud owner of this beast. What did you think? You obviously rated this very highly because you must have said marvellous, 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 whatever on every bit of the poll. What do you really think of this bike?
I like it a great deal. It's the only new bike I've ever owned. I had a choice. I was in an unfortunate situation where I could buy any bike I wanted. I've ridden Fireblades. My mate's got a blade. They're very nice, but I felt a little bit uninvolved on that. I rode an R1 once, and I got the impression that the bike could have done an awful lot better without me sat on top of it, slowing it down.
Yeah.
I like this very much. It's a good size. It feels good on the road. It involves you riding it. It sounds nice. It's got soul. If that's not.
It's got soul, man.
If that's not too.
Well, no, we
corny.
can understand. Not at all. No. You obviously feel part of the bike. You gelled to it. Did it take you long to get used to it?
No, not at all. I took to it straight away. In fact, I took one out. I took a demonstrator out for a test ride on the 14th of February, and corny enough, fell in love with it. So
if someone said to you, the bike of your dreams, you would plumb for the 595.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. As I said, it's the only bike that has ever motivated me to go and buy one new. And I've been riding since I was 16, which is an awful long time ago. And I've had all kinds of dozens and dozens of bikes.
Yeah.
And this is the best of the bunch as far as I can see.
Well, it's all here in black and white with a bit of red, green, purple and blue. What is the point, I ask myself? Well, what is the point, Warren?
Well, the point is, these are the views of 6,000 people, condensed. It's what they like, it's what they don't like, and now we've published it, the industry can see it, the ones who've done good get a pat on the back, and the ones who've done bad get a kick up the arse, and hopefully we can change things with this.
Excellent. Well, there you go, you see. So next time you get a magazine with a questionnaire in, fill it in, because what you do counts.
We had left Agra almost 2 weeks ago to head for Manali in the Himalayas, our goal to reach Leh, one of the highest cities in the world. After 2 days in the wilderness, Nuri had sufficiently recovered from her altitude sickness. Armed with sun cream, we set off once more. We soon reached the Tibetan plateau, where the nomads with their herds of yaks travelling to Tibet to trade their animals. It reminded me of a scene from the High Chaparral. We stopped for one more night in nomads' tents. It was not as tranquil as the previous encampments. Some Indian travellers were noisy neighbours, their music blasting out across the mountain range. I was dragged out for a dance and gave them a cultural shock with an impromptu attempt at breakdancing. After After a night's sleep, we were off on our travels again. This region of India, Ladakh, is mainly Buddhist and has some of the most glorious monasteries in the world. However, the music they play at prayer time is not so glorious. Not so much jungle, more mountain music. Two tiny monks invited us to see the sacred shrine of Buddha in their monastery. However, the gods were not smiling this day. They did have some problems getting the door open. This Buddha is over 30 foot high. After Nuria chased the loony llamas around the courtyard, we became good friends. And they offered a traditional prayer to Buddha written on these barrels, small and large, for a safe journey. We then sought the advice of a clairvoyant, not Gypsy Rosalie, but a green parrot. Through a translator, I was to learn I would enjoy good health, happiness, riches, and many babies. Suitably encouraged, we set off once more, with the warm feelings that Lady Luck was smiling down on us. On the way, we passed the famous mountains of the moon. Nuria was starting to show the effects of riding pillion on a motorcycle.
The roads were very dangerous, and the trucks that flew past had little thought for the bike or themselves. Many of them ended up on the floor of the valleys.
We needed a rest from living rough, so I opted for 5-star opulence aboard a houseboat. They were built for the British Raj. Here they enjoyed holidays afloat, far away from the hustle and bustle of the towns, where they weren't allowed to own land. Our time away from the hard roads was spent on water, sailing and gathering our strengths. The backdrop provided a stunning change from the harsh mountain regions we had crossed only hours before. Now it was time to unwind and find ourselves once more. Kashmir is known as a danger area, but for us it was an oasis of calm and tranquility, broken only by the presence of the Indian Army. The serenity was soon shattered by my bad impression of Lloyd Grossman.
Who lives in a place like this? Such an elegant person, Persian carpets, carved tables, carved roof on a boat, a mixture of English and Persian styles. For 5 days anyway. We're in Kashmir, on a houseboat, 5-star deluxe. At this time there's not so many people, so it's very, very cheap. Where else in the world do you get a place for £4? Evening meal, breakfast included, friendly hospitable service, tea and coffee, a nice double bed. Nowhere else in the world. So, perfect luxury for us.
My long wait for a visa to Iran was over. I was to collect it in Delhi, our next destination.
In the news this week, rumours are flying around about just what we'll be able to see at next month's NEC show. We're promised 2 new MVs, the F4 and F4S. Revy Red Bull Ducati will be unveiling their 1999 race bikes, and we're promised at least 2 world launches. You can win tickets for the show on next week's 2 Wheels. And coming up after the break, good advice from Brendan Riley, and Jeff rides the new VFR 800.
If you're like me, someone who enjoys going to the big bike meetings and doesn't mind paying 35 to 40 quid to get in, but the day's ruined because once they get you inside, the only food available is some scrambled dog death burger from Dave's Caravan, then don't worry, help's on its way. And help's on its way from France. And to be accurate, the bakeries of Monsieur Dubois and his wife Giselle, because they've come up with this. And it's a masterpiece, a bread helmet. You have no worries, you can ride to the meeting in total safety because the French bread crust carries full British safety standards. As well as that, it has a ham-lined interior, and as you can see there on the front, a laminated cheese visor. So there's the main course, but now for afters, because Giselle has come up with a little thing of herself. Hold on a sec. She's given us one of her melons. Nice one, Giselle. Thanks. So basically, you can go into the meeting wearing your helmet, and if you get hungry, you can give your helmet a quick nibble. Nice one. See you later.
VFR. Now there's 3 letters you're going to recognise, but you won't recognise much else on this because this is the brand new VFR 800. So just what is so new with this one? First off, you can probably see side-mounted radiators, very much like the Firestorm. 2 of them, one either side. They remove the front radiator so that the engine can be tipped forward a bit more, get a bit more weight up the front. Very neat job they've made of it too. Got a new frame here, ends there because this time the swinging arm and suspension is all mounted on the back of the engine, unlike the old model, and again, more like the Firestorm. The engine itself is the RC45, or rather it's modelled on the RC45. It's got a slimmer crankcase. The gear train for the valves has been moved over to the right-hand side, taken away from the centre. That's been able to slim the whole engine down. They've also changed the crank as well, and it gives this lovely sort of lumpy, offbeat feel to it all. Very much a super engine based on super bikes. And talking of super bikes, of course, you'll recognise the swing arm on this, single-sided swing arm, Pro Arm as it's known, copied by Triumph with the 595 and also Ducati 916s. One thing that it does give you is a very clean back wheel assembly. The chain and the disc and the pads and all the rest of it all stays on that swinging arm if you need to change the wheel, which funnily enough I had to take the wheel off the other day because I had a puncture and it must have taken all of 2 minutes, if that. Piece of cake. Now all that might seem fairly obvious, but what's less obvious is the fuel injection system on this V4 motor. It's buried in there, underneath the tank, between the cylinders, but fully programmed fuel injection, complete with computer controlled ignition. In fact, this bike is absolutely loaded with technology. But it's on the road that all this technology comes to life. The engine has that unique blend of smooth 4 and V twin grunt that not only gives it a nice sound and an even better feel, it also gives it stonking low down power to catapult you off the line or slingshot you out of corners. It also has the strange ability to be relaxed at any speed, trickling along at 30 miles an hour, purring like a big contented cat at 50 or 60, or tearing along at a ton plus. It all seems so natural to the VFR. What's also so natural is me sitting on this fence. But seriously, coming down to the bike, if I don't fall over, you've got a nice big seat to start off with a very natty removable little seat hump. But when you come up the front end, this is when it gets really clever. Not only have you got adjustable handspan levers, which we're all getting used to now, but you've got this very nice dash panel, really Star Trek-y stuff. Switch on the old ignition, you hear the pump start up for the fuel injection, then you get this very fancy display. You've got the time there, you've got your fuel level, you've got 2 temperature gauges, one for the air temperature, 22 degrees today, don't believe that. Press that and you also get 44 degrees, that's for the engine temperature. You've got 2 trip recorders, one say set at the beginning of a journey, the other one to set for your fuel consumption. Just press that again, changes over, very neat. And down at the bottom is your total mileage. So altogether, a very neat dashboard, nice big clear rev counter right in the middle, redlining at 12,000 revs you see there. Decent sized speedo, nice little pretty lights at the bottom, indicators up there. All very neat and very, I'll tell you what, it looks like a flight cockpit of a Hawker Harrier or something when you're actually riding along in your own little bubble. And talk about bubble, this is what this is supposed to have. Under here, there's a little air scoop, and Honda have designed this that the air comes rushing in there, forms a sort of a turbulence-free area so that you're encapsulated in this still air bubble as you whiz along. Well, that's the theory. Putting theory into practice, this is one of the most comfortable bikes I have ever ridden. The riding position is spot on, pitching you slightly forward but not too far. Remove the seat hump and the seat is plenty big enough for 2-up riding or for loading up with soft luggage. Riding back from the Boldore, I did 630 miles in a day, which is not to be recommended, but it does speak volumes for a bike that can do that without inflicting pain on the rider. The air bubble technology of the screen I'm not too sure about, but it did deflect the worst of the weather, so I'm not complaining. The suspension helps, of course, and coupled to the new frame, it gives this bike a flickability factor equal to many out-and-out sports bikes. But all this is of little use if you can't stop, and here the VFR is a revelation. In fact, the braking system on this is a technological marvel. Operate either lever, the front brake lever or the rear brake lever, and in fact it brings on both brakes at the same time, but it's not quite as simple as that. If you look at this gizmo down here, see all these pipes here, this plumber's nightmare of hydraulic piping, comes down to a 6-piston caliper there, but this isn't all. If we just imagine now we're putting the front brake on, what you get on this, you get all 3 pistons operating in there and the 3 pistons on the other side. But when the brake goes on, this arm actually moves up here. You can probably just see it compressing slightly there, and in there is a master cylinder for the rear brake. So it's not until the front brake comes on that any fluid is passed from there along these pipes straight to the rear brake, and then just the middle piston of the rear brake 6-pot caliper comes on. Now if you're still with me, the other way round, if you put the back brake on, what you get on the other fork leg is a little delay valve. What that does, it allows just these pistons on this side, or rather the centre piston on this side, to come on, and then after a few seconds that'll bring in the other one. So initially you just get half the braking force because you just got one disc in operation, then the second one follows through. Very, very clever, and it actually works, and personally I think it's very safe. And also I can say, if it works for racers like Aaron Slight, Colin Edwards and Mick Doohan, because they use it on the race bikes, it's okay for me. The braking is so controlled it has to be experienced to be believed. It hasn't got ABS as such, but in effect it has, because try as I might, I certainly couldn't lock up the wheels. With both brakes being applied automatically whenever you operate either lever, the whole bike squats, keeping the weight distribution more even. One day, all bikes will be like this. If ever there was a bike for all reasons and all seasons, this has got to be it. And it comes with a 2-year warranty and Honda's free 2-day training course. At 8,975 on the road, you get a lot of technology for your money and one hell of a bike.
On Two Wheels next week, we look at tyre production and a chance for you to win tickets for this year's NEC Bike Show.